Welcome everybody to the induction cooking class. Today we're using induction technology. It uses electricity. It's way more efficient than a gas or a coil stove, and there's no residual heat on the surface. The induction technology uses magnetism and eddy currents to heat the pan directly, and then it reduces your indoor air pollution, and it's a lot easier to control the temperature on it. We're sponsored by East Bay Community Energy. They serve the Alameda County. They buy the clean energy and they deliver it through the PG&E line, so you guys can get 100% clean renewable energy to your home. And we're partnered with them so you guys can get your own induction cooktop for a whole month. You guys can rent it out with our program with them. Just go to ebce.org/induction cooking apply if you want to rent yours out for a whole month. And today we're going to be cooking crispy cauliflower tacos with jicama carrot slaw. So I'll go ahead and let Chef Kelvin take it away.
All right, thank you, Irvin. How's it going, guys? So today, like Irvin said, we're going to be making some crispy cauliflower tacos with a jicama and carrot slaw. This is a perfect dish we can start off with because right around the corner is Super Bowl Sunday, is playoffs, and so this is always a good treat to have during those times. And plus, everybody loves tacos. So let's get started, shall we? All right, so first things first, you guys, what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna get everything ready for our crispy cauliflower. All right, so one thing we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need about a medium cauliflower head. You can do a medium, you can do a large, depending on how much you wanna make. Medium seems to go well. And first thing you wanna do is go ahead and just take that bottom part off. Usually what I like to do is just go ahead and take my knife and just dig right in it and then just give it like a nice little pull out and it comes right on out. So like I did before, I just stick my knife in and just pluck it right on out. It comes on right on out. So go ahead and discard that. Now, if you have a green thumb, I would say save this and throw this into your compost. You do not waste it. If you are growing a garden or anything like that, save this, okay? And then from there, guys, what we want to do is we're going to grab ourselves a bowl because what we're going to do is we're going to be taking off these florets bit by bit. And you want to kind of want to go get them into smaller pieces. So this is a pretty big piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. Now I'm not going to slice it completely through because I'll lose some of the flour. So I'm just going to do is kind of the same thing I did with the bottom part is stick my knife in and just give like a little twist and it'll come right apart. You want to make it a little bit smaller, you can do the same exact thing over and over again. The good thing about cauliflower is they're really easy to separate. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and circle around and just start pulling all this off. Because I can sit here and go one by one by one by one and take forever. But who has time for that when we're waiting for tacos and football games coming on, right? All right, so once I got most of the majority of that off, then I'm going to take this piece right here and discard it as well with the rest of it because we don't need that. From there, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did with the other pieces, like the other pieces, and cut this up into smaller pieces because we want to make tacos. And so we want to make sure that we have that they're not too big when we put them in a tortilla, okay? So go ahead and do that. You can still break them apart if you want to. If you have company over or you have some friends over and you need some help, so you can have them doing that part. You kind of want to stay away from the stems, though. Make sure you stay away from the stems. You can keep them if you want to, but for these tacos, I like to just stay away from the stems. They are still good to eat, but I like just to go ahead and get all the little flowers off, okay? So I'm going ahead and just rip these off. Also, make sure you're paying close attention because sometimes with cauliflower too, they might have some bad parts of it too. So make sure you discard those because nobody wants to eat that part. I'm pretty sure you don't either. All right, this one's a little hard, so I'm gonna give it a little help there. All right. And then once we get done with this, then we're gonna go ahead and get started on our batter. A few more pieces to go. Get that stem off and then go ahead and pull these apart like so. Move those to the side because we don't need those. Make sure you don't lose any because they can pop off really easily. There we go, nice ones here. And then we'll get these last few bits here, and then this big piece here. All right. Like these are gonna come off really easily. And then from there, you can kind of just go ahead, as you can see, I'm just snapping them off from the top. I'm just snapping them off. If you have a smaller paring knife really works well with this as well too. So you don't have to actually use a big knife for this. You can use a nice small paring knife. All right, almost there. And get our last few bits, and that part's done. All right, go ahead and discard of this. I usually like to have like a nice little bowl with me as well too, so I can easily discard any of the scraps that I need to get rid of. Now, usually, as you guys can see around here, you see a little body roaming around. That's Jackson sous chef. He's also the garbage disposal, because sometimes he likes to just stay around because he's such a vegan too, and he likes to go around and pick up the scraps if anything I drop. But usually I don't. All right, we're gonna put this to the side right now, and let's focus right now on our batter. Okay. So for our batter, you guys, what we're going to need for our batter is we're going to need some flour. So we're going to need about three-quarter cups of flour. We're going to need some kosher salt. So we're going to need about 1¼ teaspoons of kosher salt. We're going to also need about ½ teaspoon of black pepper. If you have pepper mill, you can use that as well. We need 1 teaspoon of onion powder and paprika. Okay. We're also going to need about 3/4 cups of unsweetened non-dairy milk. I like to use this flaxseed. This is my go-to for everything. But you can also use cashew milk. You use oat milk. Anything, or you can just go nut-free as well. Okay. Also, what we're going to need is about 2 cups of panko breadcrumbs. I find using panko breadcrumbs are a lot more, it gets our cauliflower a lot more crunchier. So I usually go with the panko. Now, if you don't have that, you just have Italian breadcrumbs, that's fine too. But I prefer to use the panko. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and make our batter. Okay. So what we're going to do is put this to the side. And first things first, we're going to do is get our dry together. Okay. Yes. I love panko, Jessica. So good. I use it for almost anything, especially if I'm doing anything that calls for anything breadcrumbs. I'm always going to go with panko. All right, so go ahead, toss your flour in, toss your onion powder in, your paprika in, and your salt. Anytime you're making a batter, always go dry first, and then from there we're going to go with our wet. So go ahead and get that all mixed in. And if you thought about it and you're like, what are we going to do with this? Yes, we're going to make a batter for this first. What this is going to do is really going to help our panko stick to our cauliflower. Okay, so go ahead and mix that in together. And then also get yourself a sheet pan too, because we're going to need that later on. So sometimes too with our batter, it might be a little bit too thick. So always keep yourself some more milk on the side too, just in case you may need a little bit more. That's what I need right now. As you can see, I love this Good Karma flax milk. It's really, really good. If you guys can see here, I love this. It's unsweetened and it does the job. All right, I'm just gonna add a little bit at a time, not too much, because I don't want to put too much in there, but I want a nice consistency here, okay? And I'll show you exactly what it should look like. It shouldn't be more of like a pancake batter, but a little bit more runnier than a pancake batter, okay? That's what we want. So slowly mix that in. I'm probably gonna need a little bit more. Gonna do maybe about another tablespoon. All right, that looks good. Well, it's a little bit less, a little bit more runnier than a pancake batter, but you kind of want to make it look more like, I would say, a cake batter. That's what we're looking for, okay? So now that we got that going, Now we're gonna go ahead and get this all in our cauliflower into our batter. Now, this is gonna get a little bit messy, so if you have some gloves handy, give yourself some gloves if you don't want to get your hands dirty. If you don't have that, that's fine. What you can also do too is grab yourself a fork or a spoon, preferably a fork, so that batter can like come off of that cauliflower once you take it out. So you're gonna do is go in batches, and also have your panko ready. Okay, so it's kind of like you want to set up yourself a station. Okay, so I have my sheet pan here, I have my batter here, I have my panko here. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss some in, or you can toss them all in if it all fits. I'm gonna do half right now, and just go ahead and mix those in. Okay, as you can see, they're mixing all in. They get a nice little coat on them. Try to get some of it off. And then from there, what I like to do is go ahead and as I put them on, I go ahead and toss them right into that panko, okay? So try to get some of it off. So like I said, it's gonna get a little dirty, but that's totally fine. And then from there, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and give it a nice little toss. Now, probably better if you have a bigger bowl. So I'm gonna see if I have a bigger bowl. That way I can toss it and cover more areas than this little small bowl. All right, now, nice big bowl. Give it a nice little toss, like so. Take them out. This is exactly what we want it to look like this. Perfect. And then we're just gonna put them on the sheet pan as we go and do the rest of them. And just make sure they're separated from each other so they don't stick together. So give them, spread them all out. And then we're gonna continue on with the rest of them. All right, let's get some more in here. Take some of that batter off. In the panko we go. Then I'm gonna take some of that batter off, and I'm gonna get the rest of my cauliflower in there. Give a nice another little mix. Okay, if your hands get dirty, sometimes it's gonna get a little messy in the kitchen. As long as your surface, your areas is not messy, and you're not just making a huge mess, because of course we all gonna hate that cleanup. That's the worst thing about cooking is when you gotta clean up afterwards. Hopefully you have some kids around. If you have some kids around, some grandkids around, and they look like they don't have anything to do and they're in front of their computer screen, have them come to the kitchen, have them come help. So my dad did with me. Instead of watching TV, he had me in the kitchen helping him cook. And here I am. All right, we're gonna do the last little bit of our cauliflower. And then from there, we're gonna let that sit, and then we're gonna move on to our salad, okay? Our slaw. All right. Go ahead and toss that in. So we'll do all of them in there. Try to get as much panko in there as possible. All right, if you don't have enough panko, just go ahead and toss some more panko in your bowl. If you feel like you need some more panko, okay? Looks like I do need a little bit more panko, so I'm gonna toss a little bit more on there, okay? And for my panko, I love using this Japanese style panko right here. You can find it at your grocery store, any grocery store. It's very, very inexpensive. If you cannot find it there, you can find it at any Asian market, and it'll probably be a lot cheaper. All right, clear some space for a bit, and then we're gonna move on. All right, here we go. Perfect. Move this to the side, make some more space for my other guys here. I'm just gonna go ahead and just toss them on there. No need to get my hands dirty. And then spread them all around. Give a nice little shake, spread them around. And as they sit, they will harden a little bit. That panko will harden a little bit, even though it's already hard. But you wanna make sure that we let it sit for a minute so it can just stick onto this cauliflower. Because the last thing we wanna do is try to fry this stuff up and it comes right off. All right. Now, moving on to our our jicama slaw. For our jicama slaw, you guys, we're gonna need about 2.5 tablespoons of fresh lime juice. We're also gonna need about 1.5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And what you can do is go ahead and add that into your lime juice right here and right now. Okay, so we need about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. And this is going to be our dressing here. Okay. And what we're going to do is go ahead and dress this up. And then the reason why we're doing this right now and not the rest of our cauliflower right now is because we want to make sure that when we mix this dressing in to our slaw, that we give it time to just sit in there, and, and all those flavors to just combine together. Okay. So we have the slight dressing here. All right. So also we're gonna need about 1.25 teaspoons. Actually, no, we're gonna need about 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. That's it, just 1.5. No more than that. And if you do need a little bit more than that, then add a little bit more, but do a little bit at a time, okay, you guys? Just a little bit at a time. You don't want to just throw a bunch in at one time. Then from there, grab yourself a bowl, because now we're going to do is we're going to put our slaw together. So we're going to put that to the side for right now. All right, so now we're going to need about, also before we do that, go ahead and toss some of that pepper in there. You need about maybe just a little bit, maybe a couple of grinds of pepper. I would say maybe like about 1/8 of a teaspoon. All right, so now that we got that, now let's go ahead and put the rest of our slaw together, okay? So you're gonna need about a pound of jicama. If you've never seen jicama before, this is what it looks like here. It's very good. I love this. It's a very good fruit to have. I use this a lot in salads. Thing about jicama, what you will find is when you eat jicama, it's very, very crisp like an apple. It has a slight apple hint to it too. So if you want to do like a nice salad with it, it goes well with that. It's a really good snack if you have some chili powder with a little bit of salt and you want to cut up some jicama sticks. It's a very good, healthy snack for you to have as well too. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to peel this. Give yourself a nice veggie peeler. And go ahead and peel that off. Sometimes it's a little bit hard, so sometimes you gotta do is go ahead and take your knife and just give it a little cut on both ends. If your veggie peeler is not working, then that's what you can do, okay? Because sometimes that skin can be very, very hard, but if you don't have a really strong one, then just go ahead and take your knife and then take the skin off yourself with your knife, okay? That's what I'm gonna do right now, just to kind of show you guys. Just make sure your fingers are out of the way and make it easier. I'm gonna go cut it in half and get the rest of that off. Make sure you don't leave any brown parts because obviously they're hard to chew. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna just slice these up in little strips, okay? So we're kind of gonna make them kind of the same size as our shredded carrots, if not a little bigger. But you don't want to take over. And for this right here, especially when you're making tacos, you want to make sure that that it just complements our taco. Just like any slaw, if you're making a slaw, and if you're doing like a pulled mushroom or barbecue mushroom slider or something like that, this is really good to have. All right, go ahead and put that to the side in our compost bin. And then from there, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna slice this up, okay? I'm gonna do is cut that in quarters. This is gonna make it a lot easier for me to cut. So then from there, I'm gonna cut it into thin slices. It doesn't have to be too thin. If you do have a mandolin, the mandolin works well as well. You can find a mandolin at any Asian market too as well. They have those are Asian, you can find those at an Asian supply store. They have those in there as well too, and they're pretty inexpensive. I think one should run you for about maybe like 12 bucks, but it lasts you a long time and it gets a lot of jobs done. That way you're not sitting here and you're not slicing things up, especially if you want them really, really thin. You can really do some really good damage with a mandolin. And for some people, they're like, what is a mandolin? I'll show you. And I'll also show you how it works. So we have ours here. Now, some mandolins don't come with a guard, but this one does. That way you don't have to worry about, because this blade is very, very sharp here. So you always want to make sure that you did thinking about safety first. And go ahead and put your veggie on there, flat side down. And you can adjust it right here on the bottom. There's an adjuster here for how thick or how thin you want them. I want mine probably like the same size. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give it a slice. What's so good about these two, they have like little spikes here, so you can kind of get a nice little grip. And just go ahead and slice. As you can see, you get really nice thin uniform slices here. And then it helps too, because when it's time for me to go ahead and cut these into like little matchstick strips, then I just bunch them all together and I just slice it straight on down. They stay together pretty well. They have a lot of liquid in there. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these, slice these up, and then we're going to go ahead and just toss that into our bowl. So right now with this slaw, that's all we do. Is with any slaw, you get all your ingredients and you just slice them all up or just toss them all in together. Move that to the side. Get the rest of these done. Beautiful. Make sure they're bunched together. Jack says he loves jicama too. You can tell, he can smell it up here. That's why he's sitting here right next to me, because he just knows, he just knows I'm gonna just drop one for him. Maybe I should. There you go. Just go ahead and just drop one for him. Because what's the use of me having some good food if he can't have any, you know? Especially with vegetables. You know, I only feed this guy fruit for snacks, you know, and anytime somebody comes around and they're trying to give him a snack, he won't eat it. Because he's all about his veggies. His favorite is broccoli stems. So that doesn't go to waste. He loves kale. And for snacks, I usually give him blueberries. And sometimes when I have jicama, I'll do jicama as well too, or even sweet potatoes. All right, jicama's done. Go ahead, toss that right into the bowl, like so. Then also what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and toss in our carrots. Now, we're also gonna need about half a cup of fresh cilantro, chopped finely. So I'm gonna go ahead and got my cilantro here. And with cilantro, it doesn't have to be uniform or anything. What I'm gonna do is just go ahead and just bunch this up like this with my fingers and just give it a nice slice. It gives this a nice vibrant color, that green color, like any slaw loves. And go ahead and toss that in. We're also gonna go with some mint. So we're gonna do about a quarter cup of fresh mint. We're gonna do the same exact thing, but we did with our cilantro. We're gonna do with our mint. Go ahead, punch it up. You can smell that mint too. So good, so fresh. We're gonna give it another once over. And go ahead and add that. This is what really makes this dish so fresh, is all these fresh herbs. Beautiful. All right, so we have our mint, we have our cilantro. Now, if you're a fan of heat, go ahead and toss yourself some toss yourself some jalapenos in there. Now, again, I'm gonna go ahead and throw some gloves on because I wanna make sure that I don't get any on my hands because it can get very, very hot. And then if you touch the eye or anything like that, you know, not good news, I'm sure as we know. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my jalapeno, and depending on how hot you like it, you know, you can leave the seeds in, but I'm gonna take the seeds out, and but also too to make sure I'm gonna not just the seeds, but you also want to take the stem out, okay? So all this in here, you want to take that out. The more you have it in there, the more heat you're gonna get. A lot of people think just it's just the seeds that has that heat, but it's the stem inside of there. It's that flesh inside of there that makes jalapenos hot, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get all that off. I'm gonna get a little heat in here, but I'm gonna go ahead and take that off. And you're wondering how did I get this off so well? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it in quarters, as you've seen. Then I'm gonna take my knife and flatten it down on my cutting board, and then put the tip, and then press down on the tip of the jalapeno. And as I'm slicing forward towards my hand, I'm putting pressure down. That's gonna get some of that pit off. That's gonna help out, okay? So go ahead and have all that done. Then I'm gonna go ahead and clear this off. And then what I'm gonna do from there is I'm gonna go ahead and take my jalapeno, make sure there's some seeds in there. And I'm just gonna julienne these bad boys, okay? So I'm gonna cut these into strips, like so. Because we want everything to be uniform. Nice thin strips, like so. Now, everything's not gonna be exactly the same, and that's fine. It's not gonna be identical, but you wanna try to get as close as possible, okay? Also be careful too, because you know, if you got a really good jalapeno, you know, it's they're very, very juicy, and some of that juice will fly up and get you right in the eye. I had that done before. It was not a pretty sight. Literally. All right, go ahead, toss that in. From there, we're gonna do is, now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get about a half a cup of agave syrup. I love agave. This is one of my favorite sugar alternatives to use. I buy it all the time. I stay stocked with it. Okay. Also, too, with the agave, the sweetness is going to complement. Is going to balance out that heat. Okay. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and toss that agave in. Make sure you get all of it. Don't lose any of it. And then also go ahead and toss in that lime juice with the salt and the pepper and the olive oil. And then we're just gonna go ahead and give that a nice little toss, okay? Nice that toss that around. Make sure everything's mixed around. So nice and shiny and beautiful. All those vibrant colors together. You know, if you want to go another route and put some more color in there, you can throw in some red bell pepper as well too. But I think we're fine with just with this. Then go ahead, take that, and toss that into the refrigerator to make sure it stays nice and cool. And then we're gonna move on to our next dish. All right, now we're back. Now, being a chef, one thing that I'm very big on, you guys, is making sure that I have a clean station. So one thing I'm very particular about is cleaning as I go. So as I get done doing one thing, I like to make sure that my station is clean because number one, you need the space, and two, the more you clean as you go, the less you have to clean later on. This is why I clean as I go. Now, before we get going on our cauliflower, we're gonna go ahead and do now is we're gonna go ahead and get our sauce going. All right, so as the recipe shows you, go get yourself a pan going right here, and then you're gonna throw in about 2 to 3 tablespoons butter, vegan butter. We're gonna go ahead and toss in about 2 to 4 tablespoons of your favorite hot sauce. Now, usually I go with either Tapatio or Cholula, and this one. So today I'm going to use my Tapatio today, and then also too, we're going to need some sugar in this as well too. Okay, so what we're going to need for this is we're going to need a little bit of my my coconut sugar. I love this. It's going to give a nice little sweetness to it as well. And you just want to just cook this down. You just want to cook this down until that butter starts to melt. Okay, once that butter melts down, and you mix that all in, then you're good to go. Get yourself a nice whisk. And just give it a nice little mix around. Like the recipe said, this is gonna be spicy, a little bit spicy, but that's fine. Because what we're gonna do is instead of mixing this into our cauliflower later on, we're gonna do is just go ahead. One thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and just push this to the side. That way you can put as much on or as little on as you want. Once this is done, good to go. Boom. Go ahead, take that off. Grab yourself a container and spatula, because we don't want to lose any of this, and get all that sauce in there. Beautiful. All right. Now that's done. Gonna move that to the side. Gonna need this pot again. So go ahead and get a nice little clean out. Because we're gonna need this for our cauliflower, to fry up our cauliflower. I love this. It's a really easy clean. All right. Now that's done. Go ahead and get yourself some oil and pour your oil into your pot. I like to use vegetable oil. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a little vegetable oil in. You don't want to overcrowd the pot, not too much, but just a little bit to where you cover up the cauliflower halfway. All right. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and let this get hot. Now, I'm not gonna flash fry this thing. I'm not gonna get this thing really, really hot. Okay, you want to keep it at a certain temperature. Okay. The thing about these pots, about these induction burners, is you can go off a number system, just like any stove top. Also, with the thing about this too, it can go off of the temperature system as well too. So if you know you're frying something and you know you need the temperature to be at a certain temperature, or to be at a certain temperature, this thing will control that temperature. It's the sous vide of the induction burners. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and just let that heat up. So right now I'm gonna have it on medium heat, which is at a number 4 right now. And then from there, while that's heating up, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting our cilantro crema going. All right. So we're gonna need for our cilantro crema is we're gonna need about a half a cup of water. Go ahead and toss that in. We're also gonna need about 6 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lime juice. So that's about 2 of them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna really extract those juices out of there. So sometimes you get limes that are really, really hard, right? So just make sure that they get all that juice out. I'm gonna do is take my palms in my hand, just give them a nice little rub. It's gonna really get those juices all broken up and ready to go. And then I'm gonna cut that in half and just squeeze that juice in there. The thing about I love about limes is you don't have to worry about seeds. So you're gonna go ahead and squeeze that in. Now, if you have a blender, use your blender. You can do this in your blender, but if you have an emulsifier, then go ahead and use your emulsifier. Either one works. I like to use my emulsifier. I love it. I love it. I use it for dressings. I use it for sauces. I use it to smooth out sauces. I use it for so many different things. All right, and then last one. Sometimes I like to do too as well if I have limes or lemons, is I save them and cut them up in quarters. Because if you have a garbage disposal, I like to grind these up in a garbage disposal. It does well for the smell. All right, next we're going to need is we're going to also need about a heaping cup of fresh cilantro leaves. And for the cilantro, don't worry about the stems. Throw the stems in there as well too. Okay, go ahead, toss all that in. But I got to say, you guys, be very, very careful when you're buying cilantro. Okay, make sure anytime you're buying cilantro, take your cilantro, get a cup of water, a big bowl of water, toss it in there, let it sit in there. Sometimes with cilantro, you'll find that it's a lot, and it's very, very gritty. That's dirt that's on there. So make sure you sit it in a cup and everything, submerging in some water, and then for about good 5 minutes, give it a couple of little dunks, and then you'll see at the bottom of it, you'll see all of that dirt that comes off of it. So before you use cilantro, fresh cilantro, make sure that you rinse it off, and not just rinse it off, but dump it in some water and let it sit there, okay? Very, very important. All right, now we're gonna need about half a teaspoon of ground cumin. Gonna need some cumin in there. Beautiful. All right, and then we're gonna also need about another jalapeno. Now, we're gonna do half of one, okay? Because we already got some heat anyway. I'm actually going to do a quarter of it because we already got some heat in that slaw, okay? But I'm still gonna go ahead and take that pit out. Just a little bit pit out of it and everything. And then I'm not gonna worry about chopping it up. I'm gonna toss it right on in there. Why? Because we're gonna blend this all up anyway. So we don't have to worry about any of that. But just taking that pit out, move that to the side. And then from there, you're gonna need about a half a teaspoon of salt. Because that salt is gonna do is going to enhance that flavor of everything in here, and then some freshly black cracked pepper, and shoe grinds, and then about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, okay? Go ahead, toss that in. And then, it ain't a crema without crema, right? Now, some people use crema. I'm not gonna go ahead and use crema. Also, too, real quick, I like to do is, for this, I like to go ahead and sometimes, and now, yes, also toss in 3 cloves of garlic. Again, you do not necessarily need to go ahead and chop those up because we're gonna blend those up anyway. Now, for the crema, I'm very big on Greek yogurt. So if you don't have crema, you can usually use Greek yogurt, okay? So what we're gonna do about a half a cup of Greek yogurt. Good. And then from there, I got my emulsifier here. And I'm gonna go ahead and just get that all blended up, okay? All right. Now we got that plugged in. Go ahead and just get that all blended up. I'm gonna go ahead and blend that up first right now to get everything mixed in. Once that's all mixed in, make sure that you get everything blended. Make sure you get everything blended in because you'll find that there'll be some cilantro pieces that did not get blended up. Looks good there. And then from there, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna add a little bit more crema or a little bit more Greek yogurt in there, okay? But this time what I'm gonna do is, instead of blending it all in there, I'm gonna savor some of this one because I think I have too much of the liquid. I'm gonna go ahead and toss some more in there. And this time I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna mix it in, okay? Just gonna go ahead and mix it in with my spoon. Perfect. Beautiful. As I see, as that comes together. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and refrigerate this as well. Also, make sure you taste your food, you guys, okay? Make sure you taste your food. If you're not tasting your food, you're not gonna know if you need a little bit of salt or what. So go ahead and taste it. See how it tastes? Tastes pretty good. I love it. Go ahead and toss that. You can take that cilantro in there. It's not too hot. Get that jalapeno. Go ahead and toss this right into the refrigerator, okay? All right. Now that that's done, now it's time for the final act, which is our cauliflower, the main event. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring my pot over. I'm just gonna go ahead and adjust this for you guys. There you go. Now, also gonna go ahead and bring my cauliflower over as well. And get yourself a sliding spoon. Also, get yourself a sliding spoon and a plate with a little paper towel on there because we want to get a lot of excess oil out of there. Once they're done. So it's kind of like setting yourself this up with a nice little station, okay? And that's another reason why I love cleaning as I go, because I know when stuff like this is happening, I know I need to make sure I have some space. So go ahead, and what you want to do is test this out first. So I'm going to go ahead and toss some panko in there. I see that it's starting to sizzle. It's starting to cook, so I know that I'm ready to go. Here we go. And you want to cook these off, okay? You don't want to cook these off too fast. So you want to make sure that they heat down to about medium low, to low to medium low. Because as you can see here, that cauliflower is going to cook up, that panko is going to cook up really, really fast, okay? So we don't want to cook up too fast. So we're going to turn this on to low. And then go ahead and toss these in. Let them gradually cook. Now go ahead and toss a couple of them in there at a time. Because also what that does is that brings down that temperature. Anytime you're frying anything, you want to bring down that temperature. When you're cooking things and you add more in there, that temperature automatically comes down, okay? Just give it like a little toss around. So as you can see, these are cooking up very, very, very fast. Get a nice golden brown look on here. And also before once you take your cauliflower out, okay, make sure you have a little bit of salt ready to go because you want to season these things, okay? Because panko can be very, very bland. And so you want to make sure that you're seasoning these things once they come out. Once they come out, go ahead and just toss a little bit of salt on there, okay? All right. Salt. Add a little bit on there. And then continue. All right. Now you don't want to overcrowd it, okay? You don't want to overcrowd it too much, so because they will stick together. But just lost the crispiness. I always try to go for the crispiness here, but this is what you want. You want them to cook gradually. While they're cooking gradually, go ahead and grab your tortillas because that's going to be next. All right. This is what we're looking for. So you definitely want to have these on low heat and they're going to cook gradually. Luckily that we have that batter on here because then we have to worry about any of this panko coming off. All right. While these cook, this is the perfect opportunity to get yourself all situated. Anything that you need to do to the side, you can go ahead and get that done. Sometimes it's all about multitasking when you're in the kitchen, you guys. It's all about multitasking. If you have things that you need to do, you know, definitely find recipes or just find a different way to cook at the same time, handle other things, especially when you're prepping and you're cooking stuff. You know, you want to make sure that you have the capacity to clean as you go or put things away as you go. Makes life a lot easier. Okay. Now, for our tacos, I'm like myself, I'm really a big fan of crispy tacos, but you can also get these onto a skillet and just heat them up as is. It's pretty much your preference, okay? All right, let's see how these are coming. I'm gonna bring this heat up a little bit more. Right now I'm gonna put these on medium-low again. And then as those finish off, I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a nice little cleanup here because we're gonna do a little bit of plating later on. I'm gonna have a nice little 4 tacos here because 4 is enough sometimes. Depends on what you're making. All right, let's see how these are coming. All right. Now, if you're not a big fan of frying things, then you can also too is if you have an oven, you can go ahead and you can bake these up as well too, and you get the same result. Okay, so you can either fry them if you want to. I'm a big fan of frying things, especially because it's football time too. So I love to fry things during football season because every now and then you need a nice little fried treat. And since they're cauliflower, you don't feel guilty about it. All right, nice and golden brown. That's good. And I'm probably gonna do one more batch. And then we're gonna go ahead and assemble our taco, okay? We should get all that oil off first, let it come off. Okay, I'm gonna do one more batch. Now, if you have some left over, go ahead, put them in a Ziploc bag and freeze them. They're good to use again. So don't worry about like, oh my God, I have a whole head of cauliflower. What am I gonna do with the rest of this? Because I'm only making my 4 tacos and not that many people came over. So then go ahead, freeze these, save for the following Sunday. They last for about a week. All right, we're gonna wait for these last ones to get done. And then we're gonna go ahead and get our tortillas ready. We have our sauce here. I'm gonna go ahead and check on our slaw. We'll grab our slaw, be right back. Now, if you notice that when we have our slaw, there's gonna be a little bit of liquid at the bottom of your pan, of your pot, or your bowl. So go ahead, move this to the side real quick, let these go and finish off. But make sure every now and then you wanna go ahead and then give your slaw a little toss, okay? You wanna get all that flavor in there. Just like what sugar or any sweetener does to like apples, any type of fruit, things like that, it extracts a lot of that natural juice that's in there, okay? So you don't want to lose any of that. So go ahead and just get a nice little mix in. All right, get a little taste. Beautiful, delicious, you guys. Oh my God, you're gonna love this. And the only thing about this is with the slaw, you got to eat it right then and there. Okay, it does not say for over a week. So what I suggest you guys do is really think about how many tacos you're gonna be making, and if you're not gonna be making enough to where it can consume all that slaw, then just only do half of that jicama. Don't make so much. If you end up doing so, then use that slaw and just eat it like a salad. You can eat it like a salad as well too. So good. All right, we're almost there. Grab yourself a bowl or a plate. And we're gonna start plating up, you guys. All right. While that's going, I'm gonna check these last little ones. Make sure you flip them around. If you don't have enough oil in there, make sure you toss them around so every single side of it gets fried up. But also too, just make sure you're really paying attention to how hot your pan is, okay? Sometimes you may think that you want to do a nice little fast fry and everything, that's fine. But when you're dealing with certain type of ingredients like panko, you want to make sure that you don't have your heat too high because whatever you're covering with, it may not get done completely. Okay, so always think about that. What you're frying. If it's something that that you're frying that could easily be consumed, that doesn't take long to cook internally, then you're good. Then you can go ahead and get a nice little fast fry. But also remember too, especially when you're working with panko, is some of that panko is going to fall off and go to the bottom of the pan, and it's going to burn. So think about that as well too, because then that also affects the flavor of your oil, which affects the flavor of your food. Okay. Now that we got those done, we're gonna let that cool off. They're nice and crispy. I love it. All right. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move this to the side here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my skillet. And I'm gonna take a little bit of that oil and I'm gonna add it to here because I'm gonna do a couple of tortillas, okay? I'm gonna add a little bit in there, like so. And then I'm gonna put it about medium high. Because I kind of want to cook these really fast, okay? You just gotta make sure we keep an eye on it. But I'm gonna cook these really fast. I'm gonna wait until they're ready to go. I can also use that panko like I'm doing right now and use it as a tester, which is gonna let me know once I start seeing that sizzle, it's gonna let me know it's ready to go. Okie dokie. We're at here. We'll move this up a little bit so we can get a better view. Then we got our sauce here. Make sure again, testing our sauce, checking our sauce, making sure it's nice and good. All right, every now and then too, make sure that you go ahead and that sauce that we made, that butter and sugar and hot sauce we made, that we go and just give it a nice little mix before we add it onto our tacos. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead, toss some in there. Grab yourself a spatula. And I like to use spatula instead of tongs because sometimes, especially when you're dealing with corn tortillas that using tongs, they will rip. So I don't want my tortilla to rip. So that's why I like to use a spatula instead. I just give a nice little move around first so everything can get covered up. And they get one side for about, I would say maybe like about 1 minute or so on per side, and then flip it over and do the other side. And same thing we did with our with our cauliflower. We're gonna do the same thing with our tortillas. Use a paper towel, get all that excess oil off, okay? Because we don't want all that oil on our food. Give it a little tester, see. There we go. See, that's what we're looking for. We want a nice little golden brownness on there. All right, need to turn this down a little bit. Jack's still over here looking for scraps. That's totally fine. So about 30 to 45 seconds per side, I would say. We'll get our salad. We got our crema here. We got our sauce here. We got our slaw over here. Tortillas are going. We get our last one on here. I'm only gonna do 2 for right now, because we're running out of time. All right. Also, I like to make sure I'm moving it around. Looking on one side. Beautiful. So that was about, depending on how hot your pan is. Sometimes it takes about a minute if you have the time, but you can do it faster. And right now I have it on about medium-high heat and everything. Was probably gonna be about a good 15 seconds per side. So that's what we're looking for. As long as we get that nice color on there, we're good to go. Go ahead and turn that off. All right, and now we're about to assemble, you guys. Let's check this. Beautiful. Let's go. All right. Let's move this to the side. Don't use this anymore. All right. Now let's plate up. First things first. What we're gonna do is, I'm a big fan of sauce. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give myself a little extra little sauce here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that cilantro crema. I'm just gonna add a little bit to the bottom of right here. Okay. Do the same thing for my other one. Add a little bit here. Then go ahead, toss your cauliflower on, probably 3 per taco, depending on the size of the cauliflower. From there, come on over, grab your slaw, add some slaw to the side or right on top, like so. A little bit more on the other one, carefully.
Hey, Kelvin, you muted yourself. Kelvin, you muted.
Bit of it because I like to combine all flavors combined together. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and just finish off with a little bit more of that crema. Like so. Actually, a little more. And there you have it, you guys. You have your spicy cauliflower tacos, whether your cilantro and carrot slaw.